Let me share with you some of China's largest and eeriest ghost cities. Take a look. One building might have just two families living in it, another might have only one household, and some buildings are completely empty. Those lights you see in the distance? They're not from residents' windows, they're just street lights reflecting on the glass. The streets are almost deserted, with barely a car passing by for half the day. Skyscrapers are everywhere, but people are nowhere to be found. This is the stark reality of China's real estate sector. In China, large residential areas built by developers but left unsold and unoccupied are often called ghost cities. Over the past several years, many new urban developments have appeared across the country. However, many massive housing projects have stayed vacant for years, with no one living in them. These ghost cities are seen by some as a warning sign of a potential real estate collapse. Others argue they are just a common feature of China's rapid urban expansion. Here we are at Taohuayuan, ancient town in Chengdu, Hunan, a massive project built with an incredible budget. The entire town was crafted using stone materials, and both the scale and investment are astonishing. But today, it's a ghost town. The courtyards are overgrown with weeds, and the staircases are all rusted. Almost every shop in this vast ancient town is shut down, and you won't even spot a single person walking around. It's so deserted that buying a bottle of water here would be a challenge. Taohuayuan ancient town is located about 50 kilometers southwest of Chengde's city center, near Taohuayuan Scenic Area. Phase 1 of the project was completed in May 2017. According to official information, the town spans about 256 acres, with its core scenic area covering more than 400,000 square meters. It was designed to include specialty restaurants, a five-star hotel, boutique inns, a Ming and Qing style commercial street, Chinese style courtyards, and scenic area apartments with a total investment of 5 billion yuan. Today, Taohuayuan ancient town has become a ghost town. Its streets and alleys are eerily empty. Some courtyards are so overgrown with weeds that the grass reaches shoulder height. Most storefronts are shut, with only 2 or 3 restaurants, a small convenience store, and a handful of inns still operating. Chinese media reported on Liu Kun, a resident of Taohuayuan town in Chengde, Hunan, who had worked along the southeast coast since his 20s. In 2015, he used 1.1 million yuan of his savings to buy a shop outright in the under-constructed Taohuayuan ancient town, hoping to rent it out or start his own business. He believed life would be better in his hometown. However, the town became a ghost city just a few years after completion, leaving his investment worthless. Forced to make a living, Liu had to leave his hometown again to work in a shipyard in Fujian province, over 1,000 kilometers away. Liu Kun's experience is not unique. Many who invested in shops or apartments in Taohuayuan ancient town ended up losing everything. Some were financially ruined. Liu joined a group of 350 property owners with similar stories. A property owner from Taoyuan County, Li Xiang, described his situation as dire. In 2016, he spent 1.2 million yuan on a shop in the ancient town. The following year, he bought an apartment there for over 400,000 yuan. Li financed these purchases through a mortgage. He now pays over 10,000 yuan a month in repayments. He had planned to rent out the shop and use the income to cover the loan, but the town became a ghost city. Li was forced to sell his home in the county and move his family into a rental. He said, "In 2 years, I'll have no money left to pay off the loan." Li said Taohuayuan ancient town trapped many people. A friend of his spent over 3 million yuan on a storefront in the town and now owes 5 to 6 million yuan in monthly repayments. The friend stopped making payments 2 or 3 years ago. Ghost cities like these are appearing more and more across China. Now let's talk about Guizhou. a province notorious for its staggering local debt, reportedly amounting to 1.2 trillion yuan, which rivals the debt levels of some nations. Today, I'm heading to Dushan County in Guizhou, a poor county swallowed by enormous debt. This is another ghost town and a clear representation of the devastating effects of heavy debt. Are these houses even occupied? The occupancy rate is shockingly low. I've long heard about unfinished buildings in Guizhou, but hadn't seen them with my own eyes until now. Look at these shops. They're completely empty, not a soul in sight. The doors are tightly locked. Even the entrance to the apartment complexes are locked, so there's no way to get in. It's currently 6 p.m., during what should be rush hour, with bustling streets and crowds of people heading from work. But here, not a single person. The environment is actually quite nice. There is a badminton court and a running track. It feels like the construction here is almost complete, but there are no residents, no busy renovation workers, no signs of life. A few families are living here, but most of the buildings are vacant, and some were abandoned mid-construction. The occupancy rate is extremely low. These houses just aren't selling. A popular vlogger known as Zhuangge visited Dushan County out of curiosity. He first toured some of the local unfinished housing projects and then went to the city center and the abandoned Jingxing Valley scenic area. The desolation he witnessed was beyond anything he imagined. When I reached the center of Dushan, I was surprised to find it just as empty. While some shops, like supermarkets and home goods stores, were still open, there were hardly any customers. This is the central square in Dushan, and it's filled with elderly people playing cards or taking care of grandchildren. China is truly becoming an aging society. Outside of major cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, even places like Hangzhou are experiencing aging populations. New college graduates can't find jobs, and people in their 40s and 50s just sit around on the streets. Look at this replica of the Forbidden City, a government-built tourist attraction. It's grand and impressive, but completely empty. There isn't even staff to collect ticket fees. The place is undeniably beautiful, but not a single tourist can be found. Dushan County in Guizhou Province made headlines for its massive debt of 40 billion yuan and the number of unfinished construction projects. In Dushan, older residential buildings appear worn and outdated, yet towering, expensive structures stand abandoned in the same area. These include a 24-story Chamber of Commerce building, imitation ancient towers, a residential complex called the Dushan Palace, and a massive structure nicknamed the world's largest water palace. Other examples include the Dushan Hong Kong Technology City, empty industrial parks, the Pangu Village project that cost 5.7 billion yuan, and the 30 million yuan Dushan Bell Tower. The so-called world's largest water palace began construction in 2016. Less than 2 years later, work stopped due to a broken funding chain. The building, which carried a debt of about 200 million yuan, now sits unfinished. Chinese writer Huang Hancheng once pointed out that half of Dushan's population is registered as rural, with an annual per capita income of less than 10,000 yuan. This puts them among 600 million people earning less than 1,000 yuan per month. Despite this, local authorities began issuing significant debt in 2010, driven by a push to show political achievements. Some online commentators question the use of the 40 billion yuan, with one saying, "They claim it's 40 billion, but it's hard to say if even 1/10 was used for the projects. The rest likely went into private pockets." Neighboring Shandong County faces similar issues. Although it's also a poor county, it has taken on 10 billion yuan in debt for high-cost unfinished projects. Examples include the 72 Professions project, reported to cost 800 million yuan, the Wanhu Water Village, costing 600 million yuan, and the 900 million yuan stadium. One online comment stated, "This isn't an isolated case. Many places in China waste money like this. It's absurd." Unfinished projects like these are common across China. A notable example is the Golden Finance 117 Tower in Tianjin. Construction began in 2008, but the project remains incomplete. Planned to reach 600 meters in height with 117 floors, the building covers an area of 4,200 square meters. The Xiamen International Center, which began construction in 1997, was left unfinished for 20 years. It was finally completed in 2017, but during the first 6 years, only 8 floors were built. In January this year, Evergrande Group, China's largest real estate developer, was ordered into liquidation by the courts after 2 years of debt defaults and restructuring. Reports estimate that Evergrande left behind 1.6 million unfinished homes, affecting 6 million homeowners. This is Muping in Yantai, Shandong, often ranked as the #1 ghost city in the area, covering 500,000 square meters. This project turned into an empty shell overnight, leaving the entire region lifeless. It was originally planned to be one of Muping's most prestigious luxury neighborhoods, but now it's a ghost town. The developer behind this project, the infamous Evergrande Group. The name of this project, Evergrande Yuhai Tianxia. Do you know any other ghost cities in China? In my opinion, the one with the fewest residents but the most buildings is the Nanhai New Area. In one building, there might only be 3 to 5 households. Naturally, with so few residents, supporting facilities are also lacking. In my complex, for example, there isn't even a single restaurant downstairs. To grab a meal, you have to drive 3 to 5 kilometers to a nearby town. Living here is only practical if you have a car. Weihai's Rushan in Shandong province, once famous for its ocean view properties, has fallen on hard times. The small city was known as the Oriental Hawaii and home to the nationally renowned #1 beach, an A4 rated scenic area. However, its seaside housing market has lost its luster, earning it the nickname the Seaside Hegang, as it turns into a ghost city. A housing complex called Waterside Apartments, with 60 buildings, has seen its occupancy drop to fewer than 40 households during winter, translating to a rate of just 3%. Resident Mr. Sun shared an incident where he got food poisoning one night and rushed to a local hospital, only to find they didn't even have basic anti-nausea medicine. Local real estate agents say there are tens of thousands of properties available in Yintian area, but the apartment population is only 40,000 to 50,000. The region's poor infrastructure, inconvenient transportation, and lack of winter heating keep occupancy rates low. Even in summer, only 20 to 30% of the homes are occupied, making it a ghost city in the eyes of many. Real estate agent Mr. Zhang explained, "Here it's just houses upon houses. Many people bought properties but never lived in them. Second-hand houses are no different from new ones, so there is an oversupply and prices stay low." One online user shared a story of bidding on a discounted property starting at just 1 yuan. They eventually purchased a 48 square meter duplex sea view apartment in Yintan for a total of 99,000 yuan. Reports indicate that at least 95 cities across China are becoming like Hegang City. In some places, homes can be bought for as little as tens of thousands, or even a few thousand yuan. Yintan in Shandong is one such example.
This is Evergrande's largest cultural tourism project in Kunming, but now it has turned into Kunming's biggest ghost city. For various complex reasons, what was meant to be a thriving and vibrant destination has become deserted and eerily lifeless.
Changgong district in Kunming was labeled a ghost city as far back as 2012. At the time, reports claimed it had 100,000 empty apartments. 5 years later, the area still appeared largely vacant, yet skyscrapers continued to rise. In Inner Mongolia, the cities of Ernhot and Ordos are infamous for their ghost cities. Changsha's Meishi Lake developed zone has added dozens of skyscrapers, but with so few residents, it too has been labeled a ghost city. In Gansu's old city of Yumen, Once home to over 150,000 people during its peak, the streets used to be bustling, particularly around the bus and train stations during the Lunar New Year. Now, fewer than 20,000 residents remain. As the population dwindled, not only homes, but also previously lively train stations were abandoned. With so many people leaving, countless homes have been left vacant. Reports claim some houses in Yumen can be bought for as little as 3,000 or 4,000 yuan for 100 square meters. Some listings even advertise 3-bedroom apartments for just 500 yuan, cheaper than homes in Hegang. One online comment noted, "This kind of vacancy isn't just a waste of resources, it also possesses huge financial risks and societal challenges." Unlike ghost towns in the West, often caused by wars, diseases, natural disasters, or economic failures, China's ghost cities were artificially created by local governments chasing high GDP numbers. Real estate has long been a pillar of China's economy, and these ghost cities are tied to local governments' reliance on land sales for revenue. Economists warn that China's real estate bubble could burst, estimating there may be up to 90 million empty homes across the country. If each home housed 3 people, these vacancies would be enough to accommodate Brazil's entire population. Even with a growing population, filling these homes would be a challenge. However, the situation is compounded by China's one-child policy. Over the next 30 years, the population is expected to shrink by 204 million people. This decline means many of these homes will likely never be filled, leaving them to become permanent ghost cities. According to the Wall Street Journal, Tianlei Huang, a researcher at the Peterson Institute for International Economics in Washington, noted, "The fundamental issue is that there aren't enough people to fill these homes. The problem is especially severe in smaller cities, where economic prospects are weaker and populations are declining." Researchers have categorized China's cities into tiers, with many of the nearly 340 third, fourth, and fifth-tier cities struggling economically and losing young residents. Official data from China estimates that between 2020 and 2023, at least 60% of third, fourth, and fifth-tier cities saw population declines. Harvard economist Kenneth Rogoff noted that these cities hold over 60% of China's unsold housing inventory. Local governments often encourage developers to keep building, even as populations shrink, because selling land boosts economic growth and increases fiscal revenue. As China's economic slowdown continues, dealing with these vacant homes has become an urgent issue. In May, the Chinese government announced a 300 billion yuan housing loan program to support local state-owned enterprises in purchasing unsold homes for public rental or subsidized housing. However, as of June, only 4% of these loans had been sold. Economists pointed out that even with cheap loans, buying these homes doesn't make sense because rental income is too low for state-owned enterprises to turn a profit. Recently, Beijing introduced several measures to stabilize the real estate market. These include cutting interest rates, lowering the down payment requirement for second homes to 15%, and refinancing home loans. But experts say China will need more substantial measures to recover. Morgan Stanley economist Xing Ziqiang suggested a broader relief plan. He proposed that the government purchase 30 to 50 of the largest housing inventories and convert them into public housing without worrying about profits. This would cost an estimated 3 trillion yuan. This plan, however, does not address vacant homes in smaller cities. Pouring more money into these areas is seen as futile since there simply aren't enough people to live in them. These empty homes are likely to remain a long-term burden for cities and investors as they cannot be sold and will eventually lose value. Hegang is a prime example. Once a bustling coal city, it has become China's cheapest housing market due to the decline of its mining and industrial sectors and a shrinking population. According to the major property platform Anjuke, the average price of homes in Hegang is just about 1,880 yuan per square meter. Real estate agents in Hegang reported that home prices have fallen even further. From 2019 to 2022, the inventory of unsold homes more than doubled. Part-time stock trader Zhou Yongzhi, who grew up in Hegang, said that most of the city center's high-rise apartments remain dark at night. Many cities across China face similar situations. With vast numbers of vacant homes that resemble ghost cities, Tianlei Huang emphasized that with China's shrinking population, the problem of empty homes is essentially unsolvable. He said, "Ghost cities will remain ghost cities."